So today our first stop is Lost Creek Caverns. So we're gonna take a boat ride. Yes, a boat ride underground, 100 and something feet underground here. Should be really fun, should be really cool. There's a little cave here. So anyway, stay tuned, check it out. Enjoy, thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all are going to be on the left. You go behind me. See if I can remember this. You guys said Minnesota? New Hampshire. So we're going to lean down. And yeah, y'all got it. We're gonna go forward and get this last for about 6 seconds. You guys are more than welcome to reach up and touch this ceiling. It's gonna be the only point in the cave that we can touch a rock, right? It does feel like a wet rock. You guys are doing great. They're in the back and a little bit lower.
You don't need to bend down, guys. Must bend down. I got it.
Yeah, bend down anyways, because it's gonna get lower at the very end.
Nope, right there.
Bend. Okay.
Okay, everybody in the boat is gonna sit up straight. You guys want to know what that's called? What? It's called a Flowstone. Kind of looks like it'd be called a Flowstone, right? You'll see that water flowing over it. Now, the really cool thing about those is that they're growing. Okay, they're not being washed out or eroded away. That water holds the same mineral we were talking about at the blue hole. It holds a whole lot of calcite in it. And as it passes over that rock, it's leaving behind all the mineral and it's growing. He does a great job. You know, the bank robber's gonna go on robbing banks for the rest of his life. And Jesse and his brother Frank decide to let him go, as long as he pinky promises never tell a soul he was in Lost River Cave with Jesse James. Sounds like a pretty good deal. So the doctor says, sure man, I'll pinky promise. And Jesse lets him go home. And then every single person employed by the Warren County Sheriff comes out to the mouth of this cave and they set up a massive barricade. Nobody's going into the cave, nobody's going out. Jesse James is going to be starved into his prison cell, right? Now, 3 weeks pass by. That barricade is still up, nobody's going into the cave. And then, the sheriff ends up getting a telegram from East Kentucky. Jesse James just robbed our bank. You guys are the worst. How in the world did 5 guys escape a massive barricade at the mouth of the cave where nobody was supposed to be able to go in or out? That doesn't make any sense. Because there's not another exit to this cave. You guys know once you get a half a mile back, it's going to be a really tiny hole. Right? There's no way you can carve a 100-foot exit in less than a week. Right? So Mr. Perkins ends up spending a really long time going over documents and trying to read people and read all these journals and letters and stuff. And he ends up finding what he thinks is the answer to everyone's mystery on how Jesse escaped. Jesse and his friends did not just sneak past the sheriff. You see, Jesse actually drank from a magic spring of water that turned him invisible. Yeah, he did. But back in the 30s, that water had something else in it. You guys remember when Mr. Perkins was running on the top of the cave? It starts with this out farm. All that poop goes directly into the water. All that water goes directly into the cave. You guys piecing this together? People were paying to drink magic cow poop juice. That is a mineral. It's called chert. It's just in a And we're gonna do a little spin, you guys, so we're gonna turn around. There's the other hole I was talking about. See it there? Okay, so this is one of my favorite parts of the tour, and I like to call it weird Bowling Green history. The hole that I showed you, the second one, was an old sewage drain. It's sealed off now. There's like a big old grate on the top of it. Nobody uses it, so nothing to worry about. Also on the ceiling back here, you guys look around, you'll see these kind of darker bumps that are not stalactites, right? These are definitely not that same kind of formation. This in the center of my light is called a horned coral fossil. That one little rock is older than any dinosaur that has ever lived. Right? Is that crazy? But this is what we call a chert node. So that same mineral that made the villa explode on the surface. This is what it looks like when it's been exposed to floodwaters for centuries of time and it's been rounded off. This is also what we think a lot of Native Americans made their tools and their weapons with down here. So if you find it out that wildly, chances are it could have been in your head at some point. It's over 40 different separate stalactite structures that have formed a massive, like, hug wall around themselves. They don't have to worry about being knocked off anymore because their base is so strong. Now this side of the flowstone is the only part that ever gets any water nowadays. But first, I want to show you guys the cave mummy. There's his head, there's his body, and there's his legs. Yeah, right? There's also a bonsai tree in the rocks. Okay, when I turn off my light, you'll see it. 3, 2. Right, you see it? Claire, how cute, right? It's adorable. And there's one more. This one's my absolute favorite. It's the coolest thing in the cave, but it's going to be behind us. Y'all ready for this? 3, 2, 1. The Cave T-Rex. Right? His name's Larry. We're BFFs. He's really cool. There's 2 eyes. Oh, that's pretty cool.
It does look like 2 eyes.
I like that. Now, if you guys like actual lizards instead of rock ones that I make up in my mind, they're gonna live over here. So this little hole in the cave is what we call the emergency exit. If you ask me, it should be named the creepy crawly hole because this is where we find all the cave crickets and spiders and salamanders and centipedes and millipedes and icky things with too many legs. They love the mud that's over in that hole because instead of having to swim in the 55-degree water, they can crawl over there in the mud, make a little burrow for themselves and warm themselves up. It's really cool. If you look up, you'll see some more speleothems. Stalactites are under the same classification. That's because they grow as water passes over them. But the main difference is that a flowstone is going to be solid, whereas a stalactite is going to be hollow on the middle, like a straw hanging down from the ceiling. Pretty cool. Now there is something that's kind of weird about our flowstone, because if you look at it, it changes colors a lot, right? So there in the middle, that peanut butter brown, that's really healthy rock. We love to see that. It's called travertine. You guys watch HGTV? It's a real fancy countertop, right? Now if you move to the right, you'll see a lot of green. This is not healthy, it's not unhealthy, it's just algae growing from this light. The only way to clean algae off of a rock is to pour bleach onto it. And bleach is really bad for fish, so just let the algae stay, right? So if you guys look around you, if you look up on the walls, on the ceiling, you guys will be looking at the breakdown room. This is the largest cavern in our cave system. But do you guys know why we call it a breakdown room? You had to take a guess.
Because tornado?
Because it breaks down. Exactly. So all these rocks on our walls, you guys can see they're kind of flat, look pretty cool. These all broke down from the ceiling. tens of thousands of years ago. This has been a really long time. What we're floating on touches the river, touches the ceiling up here. So this river will flood all the way up, 45 feet above our heads, touches the ceiling in here, building all kinds of speed and pressure. And all that water works its way in between the cracks and crevices of the rocks. And when that happens, really often, it ends up splitting the rock in two and falling on themselves. Are we all gonna part? Promise, we're supposed to touch the rock. Without falling into the river and still hold on to the handrails while you're leaving. So you guys are good to go ahead and stand up. You'll just use the handrails. We have something.
That was fun.
Oops. And I'll be right up there if you guys have questions or anything. Okay? Awesome. Yeah, of course. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Amazing.
Y'all just want to those steps, but if you want to go over to the next one, you can. It's open for you guys if you want to go check out the bar and the stage. That's all from the 30s. So I'll look at your footage and go over there.
Oh, so you can just go for the view. So this, it's the wall.